So, Kal Kalosh, good evening. We're continuing with Perek Memhei, Pasuk Daled. We just finished. So this is in Parashat Vayigash. Okay, we just said, Vayomer Yosef Lechav Geshana Elai Vayigashu, come close to me. And they came closer. Vayomer, and they said, Ani Ne'esav, Ani Yosef Achem, thank you. I'm Yosef, your brother. Hashem Echartem Oti Mitzrayim. So if you remember last class, we said that the first time around, he just said, Ani Yosef. Haod Avichai. Why? Because he saw that people are going to be hiding. They're going to be hiding with their ears on the door, trying to listen in. The second time around that he told them, come closer to me. Now that they're so close to him, even if they're having their ears there, they can't hear anything anymore. So therefore, now he went and he told them, right, I am Yosef, your brother, that you sold me to Mitzrayim. Okay, this is this time around. Okay, now he comes and he says, yeah, as follows. Ve'ata al te'atzevu. And now, do not be angry or do not be upset. Why? It says over here, I'll read to you the entire pasuk. Don't be angry. Ki mechartem oti hena, do you sold me here? Ki lemichya shelachani elokim lifnechem. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed me over here, lemichya, to support you. Here, there's a lot of balagan to what is exactly lemichya. Is it for parnasa? Is it to revive, to live? But it's all, okay? So now he comes and he says, why? Continues in Pasuk Vav. He says, what? There's a famine for the 2 years. Yeah, and then what else? You have another 5 years as well. Now you have to remember, it already passed 2 years. They were already 2 years into the famine. Okay, you have to remember that. They're already 2 years into the famine. And now he's coming and telling them, by the way, you should know there's another 5 years. Now, was there really another 5 years? Very good. So we are going to find out later on, we're going to see in Rashi, that it didn't actually happen this 5 years. The famine only stopped after 2 years. Why? Because when Yaakov Avinu came down to Mitzrayim, he brought beracha to Mitzrayim, that now the famine stopped. So if we're technically speaking, even though here, Yosef HaTzadik comes and he says, by the way, you should know, right, this is what's going to happen. It changed. Which one? Very good question. You heard his question. Yeah, his question is, why is it that he only brought down the beracha to Mitzrayim? He should have brought the beracha for where he was himself. It's part of Paro's dream. No, but the question is, the dream didn't come out true anyway. Because the dream said 7 years. Which one? That's number one, right? You understood his answer. Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to answer it a different way. You know how you answer that question? Yeah? What does that mean? Avraham Avinu, right? Avraham Avinu, yeah, he was in a place, there was famine in it, he said. Where did he go? He went to Mitzrayim. Yeah, Yitzchak Avinu, there was famine. He was going to go down to Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, don't. Now, if you're going to tell me that he himself is bracha, so why is there famine? No, there could be famine. That was part of the test. And just like Avraham Avinu went down to Mitzrayim, Yaakov Avinu was going to go down to Mitzrayim, and then we were going to go down to Mitzrayim because of the famine. So it was all a maaseh avot siman lebanim, 100%. The only thing is, once he came down, he brought the bracha with him. All of a sudden now, for other people, it's going to cause a huge beracha, and that's what. But we'll see it, Bezat Hashem. But it's a very good question. He asked it now, but we'll see it in a few minutes. Yes, that it took away the beracha, meaning that they felt. Yeah, Tzaddik Yatza. Yeah, Yatza Yaakov. Fine. Then it says over here, "Vayishlacheni Elokim lifnechem." So HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent me. Yeah, he says, "Lasum lachem sheni ba'aretz," to have you a remnant in the land, "Lachayot lachem," to revive you guys. Lifleta gedola. Okay, that was the finishes Aliyat Sheni. Now we're starting Aliyat Shlishi. Listen carefully. Ve'ata lo atem shilachtem oti hena. And you should know that now, right? It wasn't you guys that sent me here. Ki Elokim, it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By simeni la'av, he made me as an av lefaro to paro uladon lechol beton, a master to all his house. Umoshel bechol eretz Mitzrayim, and the Moshel of all of Eretz Mitzrayim. So now listen to this. It says in the Orachaim HaKadosh, Kavanat Yosef was to take away the suspicion of hatred, that they shouldn't think that Yosef hated them because he was so cruel they were so cruel to him. And it was going to be in their eyes very, very distant in the heart of Yosef. So therefore he went and he told them, it's true that when you sold me, it was very weird in my eyes. How could it be that the brothers are going to be so cruel to me? And the truth is, right, you should be hated onto me. However, now that you see everything that unfolded later on, Yadaki Hashem, he knew that it came from Hashem. Vehem shlichuto yibarach asu, and they only did the shlichut of Hashem. Velo shlichut atzmam, and not their own shlichut. Uvazel makom nishmo lahem eva. So therefore, there's no eva. Velo, there's no hatred, there's no right animosity. Velo le'archik midat achva mehem, and there's nothing which is actually very far away from them, which comes out like this. Right now, imagine a person comes and they stab you in the back. Mamash, you were going to do whether it's a business venture and you have everything ready. Yeah. And then what happens is that all of a sudden they come, boom, they stab you in the back. Yeah. At the time when it's going to happen, what happens? It hurts. Yeah. You say, how could a person be so crooked, so cruel, and you get upset, just like what Yosef said. At the time of the sale, he was upset. At the time of the sale, he said it was so weird. What are they doing? How could they be so cruel? And he says, according to nature, he should have hated them. But let's wait a little bit. What does that mean? Sometimes all you have to do is wait a little bit down the line. And all of a sudden, this down the line, when you see the beracha that came out of it, afterwards, what happens is that you don't have that hatred anymore. You actually count your blessings. And you say, you know what? Baruch Hashem. It's better that way. You understand? Baruch Hashem that it happened. Meaning at the time that it actually happens to us, we don't understand what's going on. We say, how can it be so cruel? There could be even a little bit of, something stirring up inside. But later on, says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, once we see the truth, now that's it. So that's what Yosef HaTzadik was doing to them. Yosef HaTzadik comes and he says, listen, Rabotai, at the time, don't think it wasn't weird in my eyes. It was very, very weird in my eyes. At the time, is it going to cause hatred? Everything that you want. But now that we see what happened, when you unfold the entire story, and now you see the end result, now he said it wasn't you guys. You guys were only the messengers. It was Elohim. It was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, don't worry about it, right, at all. Exactly. No, but again, at the time though, that's what I wanted to bring down from the Or HaChaim HaKadosh though, that he said, right? He says like this, he says, Hen emet ki beshat maaseh asher machru hayu advarim zarim be'enav, ech yeh achzariyut kazeh belev achim al achihem, ve'royim hem liot tznuim etzlo. So at the time, do not think that Yosef at the time was the biggest tzaddik and telling him, thank you for selling me. We didn't have that. You understand? Meaning that somebody's going to be sold by his brothers as a slave and they're going to throw him out. Nobody's going to start blessing you. You understand? You have to be a much higher level than that. You understand? That's what the Or HaChaim HaKadosh is saying. But when he saw the end result, he didn't watch it inside him because he said, no, because I see the bracha in it. Which means sometimes it takes time to see the bracha. But it's a consolation. Because sometimes you come and you say to yourself, you know what, why is this happening? How could the guy do this to me? What's going on? And it's true, right now, it hurts. And right now, it was weird, and it was cruel, and it was crooked, and every single word that you want in the book. But later on, just wait a little. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Here, it took a minimum of how many years? Yeah, it took a minimum of 12 years. Yeah, 12 years, until finally he becomes a viceroy. And maybe even if you're going to come and you're going to say that it was even a little bit more than 12 years, because 12 years he became the viceroy, but now he realizes that the brothers are coming to bow down to him. That was another 9 years. All right, so that's already, right? 12 and 9 is already 19 years. Right? Sorry, no, it was 12 and 9. It was 7 years of blessing, 2 years of famine. So that's 9 and the 12 and 13 years. Sorry, 13 years, because it was the 12 years in jail and 1 year in the house of Potiphar. So it's 13 plus the 9, right? So that's 22 years. The 22 years. Yeah, that was at the exact same time that Yaakov was not with his son. So that's how long it took him to see this truth. So imagine, sometimes it could take many years, someone 22 years, until he realizes what's going on. Yeah. Another interesting thing says Rashi, that when it says Vaisimeni le'av lefaro, that he placed me for a father on Paro, he says lechaver ul patron. You know what a patron is? A patron in Spanish. He's un patron. Yeah, the big boss. Yeah, so patron. That comes also from here. I'm sure in French it's something very similar, right? Same thing. You see, very good. Yeah, French and Spanish the same. What? Yeah, yeah. That's what I said. I said Rashi. Rashi says lechaver ul patron. So somebody's going to come and tell you this is a patron. Yeah, you should know that's the big boss. Yeah, 100%. No, I just wanted to bring it over, but that way people realize that it's here. It's in Rashi. Yeah. 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 Huh? No, so that way people would understand. Remember, he's writing it and people would understand the French. Remember that also the old French came from already the Latin. So all the languages were all connected. Spanish, French. Yeah, sometimes it all depends. Fine. Next. Yeah. Maharu va'alu el avi. Yeah, one second. Yeah, it says here, Maharu va'alu el avi. It says, go up. Yeah, and he says, right, quickly, go up to our father and tell him, this is what your son said. Samani Elokim le'adon u'chom mitzrayim le'dai la'tamod. Come down and don't stand. It's Goshen. Come down to the land of Goshen. Vayita karov elai. You're going to be close to me. And everything that you have. Right? So what does it mean here? V'yashavta be'etz Goshen. Why are you going to live in the land of Goshen? So here it says a tam. Yeah, there's Rabbeinu Bachiyai. Where is it? Yeah, Rabbeinu Bachiyai. Send him a text. Yeah, it says why is the reason why he put him in the land of Goshen? He says he already knew his father that he wouldn't want to live in Mitzrayim. Why? There was a capital city. He didn't want to live in the capital. His children were very respected, very important, prominent people. They're all going to go in front of the Melachim. So Yaakov wanted purposely to go to the land of Goshen and not to Mitzrayim. And therefore, what happens? Because that way they don't become important ministers. That way they don't become important people there. He wanted purposely to stop the assimilation. He didn't want them to intermingle. He didn't want them to become the ones in charge, right? It says over here, Gizbarim, Shiltonim. No. No rulers, no nothing. Where are the Jews? In Goshen. Yeah, in Goshen. Nowhere else. We don't want them anywhere else. That's what Yaakov purposely did. So what did Yosef do? He purposely sent them all to Goshen. Yeah, some people say also that is Goshen was very, very clean. Because at the time that Paro took Sarah, he gave her as a present the land of Goshen. And ever since then, there was a Kiddusha that was on that place of Goshen from already the time of Sarah Imenu in her merit. V'nistalka tuma she'isar shel Mitzrayim. So there was no tuma there. And this is brought down in the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer and the Me'am Loez. Also, another beautiful yesod. You understand? That means Paro gave to Sarai Menu Goshen, and ever since then, that was clean. So purposely, I'm going to give them Goshen. The land of Goshen was a clean place. Okay? Very good. The next pasuk comes and it says, yeah, I'm going to maintain you there. Yeah? Again, he says, but there's another 5 years of famine. Okay, very good. Then he says, yeah, as follows. You guys are now seeing that who's actually speaking to you. Right? What exactly does this mean that you guys see who's speaking to you? Yeah? So there's a few different things that's actually wrought over here. One is Rashi. Rashi says that you've seen. What did you see? You saw the Brit Milah. Yeah? Plus, Kifiyam daber alechem, Lashon HaKodesh. What does that mean, Lashon HaKodesh? He comes and he says, with Lashon HaKodesh, he was speaking to them. So all of a sudden, because remember, until now, he was playing the game. What was the game? The game was, until now, that Ki'ilu, that he doesn't know Lashon HaKodesh. He always had the militz. He always had the interpreter. All of a sudden now, he comes and he starts speaking to them fluently. So obviously, he didn't need an interpreter from the beginning. It was a whole show from the beginning. And Yosef knew how to play the show. Yeah? So he says, right? Rashi should have said, Vine oznechem shomot. Rashi had the question, do you know that there's a famous book, What's Bothering Rashi? And in that book of What's Bothering Rashi, right, every single time he tries to explain that Rashi has a question. Meaning Rashi doesn't just come and wants to be Mesaper Sipurim. Understand? When Rashi is coming, he's trying to answer a question. So Rashi had the question, 1 second. What do? You hear with what? With your ears, right? Do you hear with your eyes? How do you hear? With your ears or your eyes? Your ears. What does the Torah say? Right? Your eyes are seeing. What are your eyes are seeing? Your eyes are seeing what? So therefore, that's why Rashi comes and he says, Be'emet, it was that which we said before, right? And he says that he saw, right? He saw already the Brit Milah. And when he said, Kifiyam daber elechem, that's already Lashon HaKodesh. That was Rashi's pshat. Okay? Fine. Now, when he says now, according to the Ramban comes and he says, Kifiyam daber elechem, the Kavanah was Lashon HaKodesh, but it's still not a proof. Because at the end of the day, there was one other person that also spoke Lashon HaKodesh, right? Because obviously there was an interpreter. So therefore it's not a proof. So he says, no, the raya was from the fact that he said, Hashem echatem oti mitzrayma, that you guys sold me to Mitzrayim. Now, who's going to know that? Nobody can know that. Who's going to know about the sale? Nobody can know about the sale. So therefore, that in itself was a proof that it was me, right? And then he says, right? So he says, I'm going to tell you the entire concept of what's going on because of what happened to my father. However, though, there's another beautiful explanation brought down from Rav Eliakim in the name of the Mari Kolon, Mikolon. And he comes like this. Yosef comes and he says, De'u shani shalem imachem keshani medaber imachem. He says, really, be'emet, it's another explanation. You know what the explanation is? The explanation is that I'm in peace with you. That means that your eyes see that my mouth is with you. What do you mean the mouth that's speaking to you? He says, the family of Yosef, the family of Yaakov Avinu, it didn't exist. Hypocrites didn't exist. Didn't exist at all. Huh? They belong to their father. No, that's something else. That's not Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev. No, that's not Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev. Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev, for example, Rashi brings down exactly hypocrites. Lying about a certain scenario in order to cover up is not a hypocritical. That's not a hypocrite. Completely no. Yeah? When Yaakov Avinu comes and he says, Ani Esav, all that was called Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev, right? It was a lying situation in order to get to that something completely different. It's not hypocritical. Hypocritical is, Esav, I'm your best buddy, and behind his back, I'm stabbing in the back. That's hypocritical. That's a hypocrite. Where do we already see this? If you remember, we already saw this by the brothers. Because if you remember, the brothers were not able, the hatred, they weren't able to speak to Yosef. And everyone asks, what does that say? So Rashi there, if you remember, already says that from mitoch ginutam, from the genut, from the disgrace, or from the bad, the negative that you see about the brothers, you see the positive. What was the positive? That they wouldn't speak Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev. Meaning, why was Yosef thought to be, why did he already realize that they hated him? At the end of the day, the brothers should have been politicians. They should have shown Yosef that we love you, that we're all the thing. And then whenever they get a chance, boom, they're going to give it to him on the head. They never did that. From the beginning, they didn't like him, they disliked someone, everyone knew it from the beginning. There was nothing in hiding. So says Yosef HaTzadik, Kifiyam daber alechem, you should know, we don't do Echad B'Peh V'Echad B'Lev. You guys saw it. So therefore, the way that I'm speaking to you, that's exactly the way that I feel. There's no difference. That's the kavanah when they said, Shediber imahem belashon HaKodesh. What does it mean belashon HaKodesh? Lashon HaKodesh mashmauto kefiv ken libo. When somebody speaks, lo bi'ivrit, lashon HaKodesh. When somebody speaks lashon HaKodesh, it means they're speaking the same language. The heart and their mouth. He says, why? The Gemara Masechet Megillah Tet Zayin Amud Bet says, Sha'amar lahem Yosef kefi ken libi. Just like my mouth is my heart. Mashen ken im shalom et reu yidaberu v'kirbo yasimu rubo. Says what? I'm going to tell you shalom, and then I'm coming and I'm setting up for you a trap. En ze nikra lashon HaKodesh. It's not called lashon HaKodesh. Rak sefat chalakot. It's not called sefat lashon HaKodesh. It's called sefat chalakot because in Tehillim Yud Bet it says David HaMelech, Shav yidaberu ish et rehu. Falsehood is going to speak one man to his friend. Sefat chalakot balev valev yidaberu. Sefat Chalakot, people are going to speak from their hearts. So Rashi says, Bishne Levavot, with two hearts, because it says, Balev, Balev Yedaberu. Mar'im Shalom, they show peace. V'yesh Sina Temunam Bileibam, but they have Sina in their hearts. So therefore, when I come in, I'm going to tell you that there's Echa Bepev, Echa Belev. It's not Lashon HaKodesh. That's called Sfat Chalakot. That your mouth is chaluk. It's different. It's different. Your mouth from your heart. And that's why it says, V'alev Balev Yedaberu, with two different hearts. One heart is telling you one way, and the other heart is saying the exact opposite. You understand? So that's Sfat Chalakot. Lashon HaKodesh means it's something which is kadosh, that is both going in the same direction. Kefi ken libi. My heart is that my mouth is like my heart. My mouth is exactly like my heart. I think it's a very important yesod. Yeah? So that's a beautiful explanation. What does it mean? Right? That now your eyes are seeing Kefi amdaber alechem, that my mouth is speaking to you, just like my mouth is like my heart. The next pasuk comes and it says, V'gatem le'avi et kol kevodi b'mitzrayim. You're going to tell my father all the kavod of Mitzrayim, ve'et kol asher ve'item, and everything that you saw, and I'm quickly bring him down here. So it says, Pirush, the Malbim says, Ad achshav amar sheyesh lo memshala, ve'achshav osif amar lahem shechutz min ha'memshala yesh lo kavod gadol. Until now, he just said, v'chu moshel b'chol eretz, he's a ruler. What does it mean now that he's coming and he's saying, all my kavod? What? If you're a ruler, you don't get kavod? So he says, lifamim, people sometimes they hate their rulers and they're only waiting for the moment to take them down. That's all that they're waiting. So he says, Avalani yeshli kavod benehem shekulam ohavim umechabdim oti. He says, don't think that I'm like certain rulers that everyone hates. No. You should know everybody loves me. So therefore, don't even, because sometimes you're going to come, you're going to say, okay, fine, he's a ruler, but everyone hates him. What does it help to be a ruler? Yeah? Imagine you're a boss, but everyone hates you as being the boss. So it's a good thing to be a boss. So fine, you're right. Right now, you're the boss. So you're just waiting until something's going to happen. There's going to be a coup. There's going to be this and this and that, whatever it is. And then boom. What's happening? No, everyone loves me also as well. I have all the kavod. So tell my father about all the kavod that I also have. Why? Because they all love me. Yeah? So then what happens? Remember, it's Binyamin. There's a gaya, there's a metek, Ma'amid, on the thing. So it's Binyamin. Usually it's Binyamin. That's his name. But here it's Binyamin achiv. Yeah, you have to place a, yeah? So it says, V'yipol al tzavere Binyamin achiv vayef u'Binyamin bacha al tzavarav. What does that mean? So he says over here like this. The Midrash Rabbah brings down what? He has two necks. Because when it says, right, tzavere, right, that's plural. Right? What is tzavere? What? So Rashi already brings down. There's a Midrash Rabbah that it says, Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Pedat, Yosef roeh b'ra b'ruch kodesh sheshne bet hamikdashot atidin liyu beno b'chelko shel Binyamin v'atidin lecharev. If you remember, we spoke about this already in the past. That since Binyamin was the only one that he didn't sell him, so therefore what? Therefore he was zocher that the Bet HaMikdash was going to be in his chelek. Yeah, b'chelek shelo. Yeah. So what happened? So here it says that since in the future was going to be in his chelek, it was going to be destroyed. So therefore he started crying. And Binyamin was crying on his neck on Mishkan Shiloh. Remember that the Mishkan at the beginning was in Shiloh, right? It was in Nov, right? It was in, there was a few different places of where the Mishkan was. So here the Mishkan was in Shiloh. Okay, so it says over here, and it was at the end, it was going to be destroyed as well. Okay, so now what does it mean here? Why is it that the Bet HaMikdash, one second. Why is it that the Bet HaMikdash is compared to the neck? You ever thought of that? Why is the Bet HaMikdash, which one? See, he says like this, V'chenu omer, kemigdal David savarech. What does that mean? That like the Tower of David is like your neck. So the Zohar HaKadosh in Bereshit says, Tema shekatav tzavarech, הכוונה לבית המקדש. ונמשל לצוואר. Why is it the tzavar? מה צוואר הוא היופי של כל הגוף. The tzavar is the beauty of the body. Interesting, no? Imagine you have a guy, there exists such a thing. You have a guy, you could have a very, very nice face, but there's no neck. You know, the neck is like, like basically is, like that. It looks terrible. You could have a beautiful face, but it looks a la panim. As I say, that panim is a la panim. Yeah, mind the pun, as I say. Yeah, he says, well, what's going on here? Kem bet hamikdash wa yofi shel kol haolam. The Bet HaMikdash is the yofi of the entire world. However, he comes and he says, Rabbeinu Bachyai katav, Rabbeinu Bachyai says, but the tzavar is the highest place on the body. It's like the giraffes, yeah, the neck. It's all the way up there. So he says, that it's also on the top of the mountain. As long as the Bet HaMikdash is kayam, tzavaram shel Yisrael zakuf. So the tzavar of Yisrael were outstretched. We know we could see our necks. But after it was already destroyed, so then kilu that we're bending down, that we're like hunchback, so we're like this. So kilu we don't have a tzavar. So this is why I just explaining. So Pasuk Tetvav now says, "Vaynashek lechol echav v'yevka lehen." So he kissed all his brothers and he started crying. Ve'acharechen, and afterwards, diviru echav ito, the brothers spoke to him finally. Ve'akol nishma bet paro. So all of a sudden, everyone started hearing, yeah, in the house of Paro. So he says, Ba'u achei Yosef, that the brothers of Yosef came. Vayitav b'nei Paro. Everyone was happy. Why was everyone happy? So there's a beautiful lekach tov. The lekach tov says, Sfurim hayu she'eno miyuchas. At the beginning, just like what happened with the Chashverosh and Esther HaMalka, at the beginning they thought that this Yosef HaTzadik was somebody that just stumped somebody. So they were always afraid. They put a slave into becoming a viceroy, like in a second command. It's a little bit problematic. But what happened? It was an argument between the Chashverosh and his vice. V'shamu et shem aviv sheba me'Avraham. So what happened was that they heard that he comes from Avraham Avinu. Now, Avraham Avinu was called Nesi Elokim, Asher Betochenu, right? Which means he was an Nesi Elokim. Everybody knew that he was like one of the big princes, Avraham Avinu. And everyone knew the Gadlut of Avraham Avinu, even Paro, right? Because Avraham Avinu, remember, he passed by Mitzrayim. So immediately, Vayitav be'enei Paro be'enei Avadav, shelo malach aleim eved, ela ben ginusim. They were afraid. They thought that this is some stump slave. Afterwards, they found out that he's such an important genealogy, such an important of a... Wow, so this is now they're all happy, right? Because we just look at the pasuk and we think, yeah, they're all happy. Why are they happy? Because his brothers came, and therefore Mazal Tov. So tell him Mazal Tov, his brothers came to visit, and no, they were happy because of their choice. Because beforehand they went and they thought that he was like I don't know what, and now all of a sudden, an important person, yeah. So pasuk Yud Zayin now says, "Vayomer Paro Yosef emon lachecha zot asu tanu b'dichem uchuvo eretz Canaan." So comes Paro and he tells Yosef, tell your brothers to get all the things and to bring them down to Mitzrayim. Okay? And bring everything, your father, your house, everything. And I'm going to give you all 2 veretz inside. You're going to eat from the best of the land. Okay, so that's how we finish Aliyat Revi. And we start, Aliyat Shlishi. We start Revi. You're going to bring, right? What does that mean? He says you should know that there was a rule that nobody was allowed to take out from Mitzrayim the agalot the way that they were. So therefore he went and he said that he was given a special permission from the king to take out these agalot, to take out these animals. Because it was brought down that you weren't able to take out certain animals from Mitzrayim. Okay, then it says, he says, V'nechem al tachos al kelechem. Don't be afraid of your utensils. Who was afraid of your utensils? Why did he say this? He says, why? Because he already know that Yaakov was always afraid about his utensils. He was chazar for pachim ktanim, for small utensils. So he says, because of that, he went and he said, right, don't worry about anything. In the Sefer Me'am Loez, he went and he told them, don't start looking for moving. Because usually the minhag is that when you want to leave somewhere, what do you start doing? You start selling your property. Now, you're not going to sell everything in one shot. You're going to lose a lot of money. So what do? You start selling. When you find a good buyer, you sell, continue going for a few months. And after a few months, then you come down. He says, no, don't wait for anything. Immediately come down. Don't wait for buy. You have everything here. You don't have to worry about anything else. Okay, so then what happened is Yasu came and he said exactly, did that. He gives them tzedal. Now what happens? He comes and he starts giving to everybody chalifot smalot, and for Binyamin, he comes and he gives him 300 kesef, 300 silver coins, v'chamesh chalifot smalot, and 5 clothing. What exactly is going on? So here, there's a beautiful Rav Chida in Nachal Kedumim. The Rav Chida comes and he says, what is the reason why he gave 300 silver coins to, right? And he didn't give any money whatsoever to the brothers. So the Rishonim say it's because of the Mesechet Gitin Memdalad Amud Aleph. The Gemara there says, if you're going to sell a slave to the goy, right? They force you, to give you a knas, you have to redeem him. You have to go and you have to redeem him. Because now he's exempt from mitzvot. And you have to go until 10 times his price, his value. Now, stam eved is 30 shekalim. Right? Just like the Gemara says, that when an ox is going to gore, right, a human being, he has to give 30 shekalim. So 10 times the 30 shekalim is 300 shekels. So therefore, he gave it to Binyamin and not to them, to give them a hint that the matana is 300 shekalim kesef and not to them, to tell them shielaim tsa'ar bimkom knas shayu chayavim. Meaning, really, be'emet, they had to pay 300 silver coins in order to redeem Yosef HaTzadik, but they didn't. So therefore, why wouldn't they need to? Because now that he's giving the money to Binyamin, and now Binyamin is going to come and is going to suffer, right? So since the brothers are going to suffer when they see what's going on, so what happened? So that was an atonement. And that's why he purposely did it. You understand what happened? Wow. Meaning, the brothers were supposed to pay 300 silver coins in order to redeem Yosef. What? To get him out of Mitzrayim, to get him out, to pay to the ruler. That means they have a knas, they have a penalty. It's like a fine. Now, what happened? He wanted them to become exempt from that. How do you become exempt from that? When he gave that money to Binyamin and not to them, they suffered that they wanted that money. Because they also wanted that money, right? So therefore, that was a kapara for each one of them, that they didn't get the 300 silver coins, because that way, because now they don't have to pay it anymore. Beforehand, they would have had to pay that money. By giving it to Binyamin, and now they're suffering that they also wanted it, now they're exempted from this. Yeah, 1 second. And the last answer, he says, V'odav Shalomar, ki ho yarotze likach Binyamin eved, ulfichach kanas atzmo asara bedamav. Another answer is, who did he want to take as a slave? Binyamin. So he gave a knas to himself. Since I wanted to take Binyamin as a slave, so I have to pay 10 times the amount of what it is for a slave. So therefore, I have to give him 300 silver coins, because Kilu, I was going to make him into a slave. Now, why do you have the Chamesh Chalifot Semalot? So it says in this, Hatam Bazeh Katav Chiskuni. So one of the Rishonim, the Chiskuni, comes and he says, or one of the Achronim, he says, Achat al Shekara Begadav Imechad. He tore his clothing with the brothers. Hashenit al Shu Ben Imo. Right? Number 2, because he's the same mother. Right? Vashlishit al Boshet. The third one was because of embarrassing him. He called him a Ganav. He called him a thief. So because of the embarrassment, right? Number Ushtaim and 2, because he had to pay back double. Yeah. However, the Sechel Tov comes and he says that he always wanted to do everything in 5. Because it says, he divided Mitzrayim in 5. He always does everything in 5. The manot that he gave to Binyamin was 5. And we're going to see later on also in 5, 2 groups of 5. So everything was always 5, the Chamsa. Yeah, you think that the Chamsa only came already Yosef HaTzadik. Everything was Chamsa. Everything was 5. So that's where we see already the concept of 5. And then all of a sudden what happened was he comes and he sends to his father the 10 different types of 10 chamorim and 10 atonot. He says, why? He gave to the 10 shvatim masach chamor masach aton to bring to the father. And even though Binyamin also came down, he didn't want to bother Binyamin. So therefore it was only 10. It wasn't 11. It should have already been 11. If all the brothers were going back down, it should have been 11. There were 11 brothers, not 10. Right? But he didn't want to bother Binyamin. So Binyamin didn't take anything. The Sechel Tov brings down that he sent 5 for the kavod of his father and 5 for the kavod of Bilha, his stepmother. Because remember, all the other women, they passed away because Yosef did everything in 5s. So again, we say again the 5s. So 5 was for Yaakov and 5 was for Bilha. All the other stepmothers, Rachel already passed away and Leah and Zilpah passed away according to what's written here. And therefore he did 5 and 5. 5 for Yaakov, 5 for the stepmother, and then he went and he brought them down. The last one, right, and then we're going to finish over here. They went and they told Yosef, Yaakov that Yosef was still alive. Why does it say lemor? So it says lemor because they themselves didn't actually. Lemor means saying. What do you mean? They told him saying, right, Od Yosef Chai. What are they saying? Right, they told him Yosef is still alive. It says, what is lemor? Lemor is what they told somebody else to tell them. Because they themselves didn't do it. It was Serach Bat Asher. Right, just like the Midrash brings down. Lemor is because Serach Bat Asher came out and she saw that they were speaking about Yosef and that he was alive. So she ran and she started telling it over in order that he would be revived. And because of the beracha of the tzaddik, right, that he gave her a beracha because he was so happy at the time, she lived. And that's why the Seder Olam says that Serach Bat Asher Chaya Leolam. She never died. She went Serach Bat Asher. Serach Bat Asher. She's the daughter of Asher, right? There's a whole thing of this. So she went into Gan Eden Chai. Why? Because of the beracha of Yaakov Avinu. Because since she revived Yaakov Avinu gave her a beracha, and then that's it. And then she was able to live forever. So this is just like the little bit of of the touch of the cream of the parasha that we just